You're listening to part 1 of this audiobook. Enjoy the story? Part 2 and the rest of the story are available on Patreon. Go to Patreon and search for my page to continue listening. Now, let's begin part 1. Chapter 1. The start shocked the 12 universes. Dragon Ball World. In an unknown dimension, a jellyfish floating island stands in the void. This is the ruling center of the Dragon Ball Supreme God King and the other God Kings. It is also the hub for managing all universes. At this time, the surrounding space flashed, and several figures appeared in the temple square. These people are the personal guards of the King of all. Their strength is also beyond the existence of the God of Destruction and even the angels. And now, even these powerful beings showed solemn expressions. The guard leader in the lead had a solemn expression, his eyes fixed on the fluctuating void in front of him. His body was shaking obviously, as if he had seen something incredible. Here it comes. The guard leader's eyes became sharp, and the guards around him instantly tensed up. As soon as the guard leader finished speaking, the entire dimension was illuminated by golden light. A blue and a red meteor suddenly flashed in the void. Boom! At this time, the two meteors kept chasing and colliding in the void. Waves of indescribable collision sounds continued to spread in the void. The impact range caused by the collision far exceeded the limit expected by several guards. Not only was the temple of the Omni King affected, but even the 12 universes under his command were obviously shaken. Countless gods looked terrified, and even those high-ranking gods of destruction did not have the arrogant image of the past. Instead, they looked terrified like those weak guys. The 7th universe. Even the 7th universe was greatly affected. Goku and Vegeta, who were training on the destroyer planet, were also knocked to the ground by this force. They were terrified like the other destroyer gods. They didn't understand how many levels this power had surpassed. Compared to this energy fluctuation, they felt like a drop of water falling into the vast ocean. It's hard to cross, hard to surpass. Could the universe also have earthquakes? Goku was shaken by this fluctuation and even had difficulty standing. This fluctuation. Vegeta's hair stood up. It was the first time he felt such a strong pressure. Not only the two of them. Even Beerus on the side had an ugly expression, and beads of sweat kept coming out of his forehead. Whis looked up, his eyes fixed in one direction. Dad, in judgment again. Is it the noise made by the adults? Whis said with a surprised expression. Everyone present heard what Whis said, except Beerus, who was shocked again. Does Whis have a father? What is a judge? Sun Wukong got up with difficulty and shook off the dust on his training clothes with some effort. Dad, Judge Whis, do you have a father too? Who is the judge you are talking about? Sun Wukong asked 3 soul-searching questions in a row, and everyone present was confused on the spot. You idiot, look at the sentence you made up. How can you talk like that? Even Vegeta was a little ashamed to train with this guy. It's okay to tell you. Whis laughed. He gently pointed the scepter in his hand at the ground. Instantly, a protective shield was formed between the 4 people, isolating everything from the outside world. Even the terrifying fluctuations could not affect them. In your impression, are the God of Destruction and King God the highest gods in this universe, or is it me, an angel? Hearing this, the two looked at each other at the same time. However, there was a gleam of doubt in their eyes. But the two still nodded stiffly. Because in their impression, Lord Beerus is the most honorable god in this universe. In a sense, it is true. At this point, Whis frowned. But do you know? There are higher level gods above the God of Destruction. The life levels and dimensions of those adults are far beyond your imagination. At this point, Whis glanced at the planet that was shaking outside the shield again. The reason why the 7th universe is shaking so wildly. It is because of the aftermath of the battle between the High Priest and the Judge. And the High Priest and the Judge are the supreme rulers of our God clan. Oh, it seems that I have said too much. Whis said these explosive news words in a light tone. The brains of the 2 people exploded with a buzz. Such a range of fluctuations is not a cosmic earthquake at all. It is the aftermath of someone's battle. At this time, the dimension where the temple is located. The 2 meteors in the sky collided more violently, and the chaotic wind caused by the aftermath of the 2 people pressed towards the surrounding dimensions like a tsunami. Such a terrifying power constantly stimulated the nerves of every guard present. They dared not imagine what level the 2 supreme gods had cultivated themselves to. If they were to go up, they would definitely not be as good as cannon fodder. This battle will soon be decided. At this time, the red meteor suddenly expanded by more than twice, and its aura soared instantly. A collision knocked down the blue meteor. The latter instantly fell on the square of the temple of the Omni King. Directly smashed a bottomless pit in the square. The short young man in the pit had a serious expression. The guy opposite was still so powerful after so many years. It was the high priest who was knocked out. And the shining red meteor in the sky looked down at him. It's not over yet. The high priest straightened his clothes, and a golden ring instantly appeared behind him. And at this moment, the high priest suddenly felt that the whole world in his sight had completely stopped. He thought it was not good, and frantically urged the remaining divine power. He wanted to break free. But it was useless. A dazzling red light flashed in front of his eyes, and he had to close his eyes. When the high priest opened his eyes again, he found that his body had been tightly bound by countless chains. His throat was also held by a red long sword. The 452nd time. You lose again this time. A white-haired young man held a red long sword and looked at the high priest, who lost to him again. He couldn't tell what expression was on his face. Enjoying part 1 so far? This is only the beginning. Part 2 and the rest of the story are available on Patreon. Go to Patreon and search for my page to continue the story. Now, let's continue. Chapter 2. I am the judge, the creator of the destruction god system TTSHU8.com. You lose. The young man stroked his long white hair and took the chain and the red sword back into the dimensional space. The high priest sat on the ground and panted. His expression was very wonderful for a while. He sat for a long time before he came to his senses. The high priest stood up and patted the dust on his body, shook his head helplessly and smiled bitterly. I still can't beat you. Your progress is so fast that it's scary. The guy the high priest was referring to was the white-haired young man in front of him. It's just the accumulation of billions of years. It's not worth mentioning. When talking about time, the young man couldn't help but sigh. Even he himself didn't expect that time would pass so quickly. The young man's name is Zongsu. He is not from this world, but from another parallel plane, Blue Star. At the beginning, he accidentally traveled to this world and directly crossed to Chuanshen. He didn't know what Chuanshen was thinking at the time. He only remembered that Chuanshen appointed Zongsu as the judge of Quanshen's territory on the spot. The fallen god who is responsible for judging everything in the land. At that time, even the guards, and even the early Salama and the second-generation high priest were confused by Quanshen's appointment. Such a high official position was conferred on them when they first met. But as mentioned before, they didn't know Quanshen's inner thoughts at the time. No matter how many puzzles and complaints they had, they could only respect the choice of this adult. After the appointment, Chuanshen directly met Zongsu, and his face of the gods decomposed into 5 individuals. One merged with Zongsu. One stayed in this time and space. The one who stayed here was the young king of all. The other 3 fled to different time and space planes and disappeared completely. The supreme god of all gods fell. This incident confused Zongsu, who had not yet grown up, saying goodbye to all gods just after meeting them. Unlike other time travelers, Zongsu was not bound to any system. Most of his current strength and achievements came from Zongsu himself, and some came from Salama and others. Zongsu quickly adapted to the new body and began his own practice under the guidance of the gods. During the endless practice process, he was surprised to find that the talent of this body was quite terrible. Even the high priest at that time was shocked by Zongsu's terrifying talent and practice speed. Could this be attributed to the part of all gods that was split off? However, Zongsu still made efforts. In the days that followed, the high priest and the god Salama served as Zongsu's temporary teachers. The high priest explained to him the work content of the judge, what a god should do, and how to absorb the energy of the universe to nourish himself. Salama served as Zongsu's combat teacher, teaching him how to fight, how to forge his own artifacts, and practice with him. Under the guidance of the 2 top gods of the universe, Zongsu's strength and insights improved rapidly. Time passed quickly. During Zongsu's growth, many new universes were born in this world. There were as many as 18 new universes. At that time, Zongsu had already become independent under the guidance of the high priest and Salama. He became a real god. Zongsu chose numbers from 1 to 18 to name these universes. While naming these universes, Zongsu also proposed a plan to appoint some new gods to manage these new universes. And these new gods must be able to check and balance each other and be absolutely loyal to the territory of the king of all. Since he understood the concept of the universe, Zongsu actually understood it very well. The speed of the expansion of the newborn universe is very amazing. An infinite universe also has its limits. Excessive destruction, excessive creation, this would only cause the originally balanced scale to tilt. So Zongsu discussed with the gods such as the Great Priest and others and re-established the new god rules. Under the new rules of the gods, the priesthood of the god of destruction and the king of the world was born. This was also the earliest idea of the god of destruction and the king of the world managing the universe. The four gods had clear division of labor. The newly established planners were Zongsu, Salama, the Great Priest, Kansei. Zongsu was responsible for judging the universe system and rules, and selected several candidates for the god of destruction from the races born in the new universe. These were also the 18 first-generation gods of destruction. Salama planted a seed on the higher dimension, and the seed grew into a towering tree in an instant. And the crown of this tree can also produce two kinds of fruits, namely golden apples and red apples. When the golden apple matures, it will be blessed by the guidance of several other gods, thus giving birth to the king of the world. When the red apple matures, it will automatically fall under the roots of the tree, and will automatically grow into the king of the world without the guidance of other gods. Then it will be guided by other gods and uniformly distributed to the corresponding universe. The High Priest and Kansei planted their own origins in the new universe, and used their divine power to continuously guide these origins to grow and evolve. Under the careful guidance of the two supreme gods, these origins continued to move closer to the races of the two, thus giving birth to the angels. Later, Kansei ordered these 18 angels to assist the corresponding 18 gods of destruction. Because these 18 angels were transformed from the origins of the High Priest and Kansei themselves, they are extremely powerful. Even when they were born, their strength far exceeded that of the gods of destruction. The High Priest was worried about this, so he personally formulated the rule that angels could not take action. For this reason, the angel mistress Kansei had a big quarrel with the High Priest. This is also the reason why the two gods will go to opposite sides in the future. Under the guidance of the four gods, the first generation of 18 universes developed rapidly and soon reached an unprecedented heyday. Or many major events happened in the middle. However, these events can only be left for later. Later, after creating the Super Dragon Balls, Salama and Kansei chose to leave the territory of the King of all. In the end, the only supreme gods left were the Grand Priest and Zongsu. After that battle, there are only 12 of the 18 universes left. The territory of the Omni King is rapidly declining, and the angels are still at their peak. However, the god of destruction has a big gap, and its strength is far less than its original glory. There are also external forces lurking in the territory, trying to replace the Omni King. The remaining two supreme gods dare not slack off, and the Omni King has not yet recovered. The burden now falls on the shoulders of the Grand Priest and Zongsu. It is now, are you still thinking about the past? The past is over, and there is no need to recall those sad pasts. Zongsu snapped his fingers and pulled the Grand Priest, who was lost in memories, back to reality. The Grand Priest smiled bitterly and shook his head. Yes, the glorious era is over. You are more suitable to be a qualified leader than me. That's it. The High Priest waved his hand and disappeared in a flash, leaving Zongsu alone to think. Now should be the F period of resurrection, right? The period when Sun Wukong and Vegeta had just realized the super blue form not long ago. At this point, Zongsu's mouth corners rose again. He decided to go to the 7th universe in person. Chapter 3 Arrogance Super Saiyan Blue Sky vs Beerus, the judge is coming soon. After Whis' careful explanation, Goku and Vegeta's worldview was refreshed again. Before this, they always thought that the god of destruction was the most powerful existence in this universe. Both of them silently set surpassing the god of destruction as their first goal. The overwhelming power shown by Beerus before was no joke, and it deeply shocked them. For the first time, they clearly understood how much gap there was between themselves and the powerful existence. But now you tell them that the god of destruction is not the strongest. The so-called most powerful god of destruction is just a kitten in front of those supreme gods. The god of destruction is not the strongest. There are so many masters who are stronger than the god of destruction. And the king of all you mentioned. How strong are they? Sun Wukong, whose worldview was refreshed again, once again asked 4 soul-searching questions. After hearing these incredible remarks from Sun Wukong, Whis' expression was wonderful for a moment. Whis looked at Sun Wukong with complicated eyes. Wouldn't a normal person be scared when hearing these explosive news? Wouldn't he be in awe? Vegeta's expression was calm. Although he didn't speak, his heart was already filled with shock and could not calm down for a long time. So this is the truly powerful existence, the god of destruction, the angel, and those high and mighty supreme gods. One day I, Vegeta, will also reach the realm that those so-called gods of yours have reached. I will never lose to any of you. Vegeta clenched his fists, and his eyes seemed to flash with fiery sparks. His originally rock-hard state of mind, which was determined to become stronger, reached a new height again. He also had people he cared about. He also had goals he wanted to achieve. Looks like they are full of fighting spirit. Seeing the two people showing different expressions, Whis could only sigh heavily. What on earth are these guys thinking? You two guys? It's really a headache. Although he said so, his evaluation of these two guys once again reached a new height. The mood is good, but too arrogant. While the two were excited about this, Beerus, who was basking in the sun not far away, poured a basin of cold water on them again. Surpass the Grand Priest and the Judge. Yes, your courage is commendable. So awesome. Beerus said sarcastically, and applauded the two by the way. He didn't even dare to think about surpassing those two beings. As a result, these two people in front of him directly said that they wanted to surpass each other. This is no longer called courage. This is called arrogance. A kind of arrogance that doesn't know the height of the sky and the depth of the earth. It's like when you walk on the road and see an ant standing at your heels, the ant raises its antennae and makes a bold statement that it wants to surpass you. After being mocked by Beerus, the two scions did not completely recognize the gap and give up and choose to be dejected. Instead, they were once again aroused to compete. Sun Wukong looked serious, staring directly at Beerus, who was covering his mouth and laughing. And said his answer word by word. I will. As long as there is an unswerving will. We will definitely get the answer we want, it's just a matter of time. Vegeta gritted his teeth and gave his own answer as well. Very good. After getting the answers from the two, Beerus's face became completely gloomy. As dark as when you draw a card 8 times in a row. He was just out of breath because of the laughter of the two, and now he is going to take action. This change of attitude is faster than turning a page of a book. Beerus stood up, and a layer of purple destructive energy gradually floated around his body. The breath of God rose rapidly. These destructive energies instantly destroyed the recliner under him and the surrounding leisure facilities. Crack, crack. Beerus twisted his neck and raised his arms slightly to move his body. He said without a trace of emotion in his tone. To put it bluntly, you scions are really stupid. Barbaric arrogant want to surpass the opponent when you see a strong opponent. Every time Beerus said a word, his breath soared to a whole new level. Sun Wukong and Vegeta were facing a great enemy and instantly took fighting postures. The two entered the super blue state at the same time, tightening their own breath and energy to the maximum amount at all times. But the cold sweat on their foreheads and the trembling hands betrayed them. Let us see it. The real gap between us and the god of destruction. Vegeta's forehead was bulging with blue veins, and his breath was also soaring wildly. It's not like he hasn't beaten the god of destruction before. Do you really think that Vegeta is afraid of these so-called gods? Beerus was amused by the two again. You are indeed very talented. So talented that I am impressed. As he said this, he glanced at Whis, who was drinking tea and watching the show. If you have a good teacher, your future achievements will definitely reach the level of the god of destruction. But it is not a good thing to set your goals too high. While Beerus was still speaking, a roar that soared into the sky brought him back to reality. Let's go. The two had already started to attack, and they all used 100% of their strength. Sun Wukong flashed in front of Beerus and punched him in the chest. And the latter Beerus' eyes flashed, and he slightly turned his body to avoid this terrifying attack. At the same time, he used another move to throw Sun Wukong away on the spot. But at this critical moment, Beerus suddenly felt a strong energy fluctuation behind him. He turned back and saw Vegeta rubbing his hands with an energy bullet behind him. Try this move, Vegeta said arrogantly, as if he had seen Beerus's uncomfortable expression after receiving this move. But things did not go as he wished. The unexpected events caused by the battle once again refreshed his cognition. Beerus turned around instantly and grabbed the energy bullet rubbed out from Vegeta's palm with one claw. What the hell? Vegeta was completely shocked by this ghost-like speed. He did not expect Beerus' speed to be so fast. But Beerus would not give him any breathing time. Beerus gently pushed the energy bullet to Vegeta's chest. Boom! On the destroyer planet, a huge mushroom cloud rose up. Vegeta was also completely submerged in the explosion. Beerus was not even covered in dust, and even yawned. You have to know that he is now dealing with two people in super blue form, not ordinary form. As a result, the two were fooled by others throughout the process. Beerus glanced in one direction, and a slight arc rose at the corner of his mouth. In an instant, Sun Wukong, who was originally pushed away, teleported again and came to Beerus. He kicked out with a sweeping kick, aiming directly at Beerus' neck. The breath generated by the sweeping leg directly created a deep gully in the surrounding grass. This shows how heavy this move is. Beerus bent down and slightly avoided Sun Wukong's full-strength attack. And this happened to be Sun Wukong's trap. Sun Wukong's mouth corners rose, and he quickly controlled the power before the sweep was completely kicked out of Beerus' range. Sun Wukong quickly turned around, and his heel turned into a knife tip. He kicked on Beerus' chest. Beerus' pupils shrank suddenly, he had never thought of this. Chapter 4 Beerus defeated Sorabe instantly. Zhongsu, being young is good, you can fall asleep right away. However, this is not over yet. Sun Wukong once again used his ability of teleportation to teleport under Beerus. He bent his right leg and directly hit Beerus into the air with a knee. Beerus, who did not react in time, was also directly stunned by this set of small combos from Sun Wukong. But he still took it all without saying a word. This shows what a terrifying level Beerus's defense has reached in normal state. Beerus, who was hit into the air, only felt a flash in front of his eyes. Another figure appeared above Beerus. It was Vegeta, who was originally submerged in the explosion. Vegeta was basically fine except for some scratches on his body, but he was stunned for a while. Vegeta gathered his hands together, and an amazing energy continued to gather between his palms. Try this move again. Vegeta's arm veins bulged, and the energy gathered at once reached its peak. He aimed the energy at Beerus, who was about to fly up, and performed his ultimate move. Final flash. Boom. At that moment, extremely violent lightning energy burst out from the palms of Vegeta's hands. The energy carried the power to destroy everything and shot towards Beerus below. Beerus did not even try to dodge. He directly chose to take on this terrifying energy attack head-on. Beerus was knocked down by this energy again. How could Sun Wukong below just sit there and wait to die? Sun Wukong also gathered his hands together, and a blue energy ball appeared under his gathering. The energy ball gathered quickly. It soon reached its peak. Seeing that the time was ripe, Sun Wukong immediately aimed the energy wave in his hand at Beerus, who was about to fall above. Came ha! The terrifying energy wave burst out from the palms of Sun Wukong's hands and collided head-on with the shot down Beerus. For a moment, the finishing moves of the two scions collided with each other. The terrifying energy fluctuations directly destroyed the surrounding environment. Beerus, who was sandwiched between the final flash and the Kamehameha, remained silent. A blood-boiling combination skill Whis, who was watching the battle from a distance, nodded with satisfaction. The cooperation between the two scions was still quite perfect. But it was useless because he knew very well how outrageous the gap between those two guys and Lord Beerus was. Back to the battle. The two energies were still colliding with each other, and the two scions above and below were also frantically increasing their energy. It seemed that neither side was convinced by the other. However, it reached the critical point immediately. Boom! The two energies completely exploded under the continuous pressure of the two. The horrible explosion directly blew up half of the entire destroyer planet. Sun Wukong and Vegeta were breathing heavily, with beads of sweat on their foreheads. They almost couldn't even maintain the super blue form. Win! Looking at the smoke that had not dissipated for a long time, Vegeta said nervously. But Sun Wukong soon found something wrong. No, I can't feel any fluctuations at all. Sun Wukong's expression was ugly. He couldn't feel any fluctuations of Beerus' life. This made him think of a terrible result. Could it be that Lord Beerus? But this attack was not enough to kill the destroyer god. While the two were thinking, a figure suddenly rushed out of the smoke below. So fast that the two people can't react at all. Crack! Sun Wukong only heard a crisp bone cracking sound, and then he realized that Vegeta had lost consciousness and fell to the ground. After dealing with Vegeta, Beerus set his target on Sun Wukong not far away. When Sun Wukong finally reacted, he found that Beerus had appeared below him. Beerus looked crazy and grabbed Sun Wukong's collar with one hand. Sun Wukong felt his brain go blank for a while, and then he heard Beerus roar. Take off! Boom! Sun Wukong fell heavily to the ground, and several bones were broken. He lost consciousness on the spot. Is that all the strength? The battle ended, and the two Super Blue Scions were completely defeated. And the final winner, Beerus, looked down at the two unconscious Scions below. He had just started warming up, but these two little bastards were so weak. Tisk, boring. Take them down for treatment. Beerus glanced at Whis not far away. But he saw Whis talking to a white-haired man. Whis also blinked at him from time to time. Who? Beerus squinted. Wanted to see who the white-haired man was. But you don't know until you see it, you'll be shocked. When he saw the man clearly, Beerus almost got scared out of his wits. He never dreamed that the legendary judge who rarely appeared actually came to his planet. He didn't even notice it. Judge, Lord Judge. Beerus rolled and crawled in front of Zongsu and bowed deeply. Welcome to inspect, Lord. I am guilty, please don't blame me, Lord. Cold sweat kept running down Beerus' cheeks, and he almost kowtowed to Zongsu on the spot. If you want to say who Beerus fears the most, it must be Lord Judge. The second is the king of all. Zongsu didn't even look at Beerus, and said calmly. Nothing. I just came here to take a look this time. Zongsu also patted his shoulder and gave him an affirmative smile. But the latter was even more scared. Your work attitude is good recently. Even the number of planets destroyed in the past 20 years has exceeded 5. How could Beerus not hear the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious that the Lord in front of him wants to talk about his work attitude? As soon as he thought of himself leading the team to play badly, and then being dismissed and taken away for trial by the ruling, Beerus' face almost turned green with fear. He knelt down on the spot. And Zongsu was just teasing him, and he didn't expect this guy to have such a big reaction. Okay, I won't dismiss you. I won't hold you responsible for anything. Zongsu waved his hand and indicated that he would not pursue the matter anymore. Beerus sighed with relief. Fortunately, this lord was sensible and didn't hold him responsible for leading the team to play badly. Come on, do a good job. I'll give you a promotion and a raise when the time comes. Zongsu painted a big pie for Beerus. The meaning of this sentence was implicit, and everyone present could see it. Lord Beerus, you have to work hard in the future. Whis, who had been lurking nearby, also jumped out to tease Beerus at this time. Zongsu nodded. He had been tired of hearing these cliché copyrights for billions of years. He didn't come here to listen to these two guys complimenting each other. But it's because those two scions traveled through Dragon Ball, but never met the protagonists. He still wanted to meet them a little bit. After all, he had traveled through the Dragon Ball world for so many years that he almost forgot about the two original protagonists, Son Goku and Vegeta. He only remembered this when he was beating up the High Priest. So Zongsu came over to take a look. Zongsu looked at the two people who were still lying dead not far away and smiled with relief. At this time, Son Goku and Vegeta were lying on the ground, their faces were ruddy, and they even smiled, looking peaceful. A pale white halo also appeared on their heads. Sleeping like a baby. Zongsu smiled with relief again. He didn't expect that these two Dragon Ball protagonists actually fell asleep, and even had such a good sleep quality. It's good to be young, just fall asleep. Chapter 5 Zongsu's Angel Investment. These two scions are very talented. Oh yes, I almost forgot about them. Beerus slapped his forehead. He was busy licking the judge just now and forgot that these two were still lying there. After all, he was so excited at the time that he didn't care how hard he hit. As a result, the two sandbags couldn't even withstand a single blow. They all fell down. Use your ability to heal them quickly, don't let them stay there. Beerus hurriedly called out to Whis. You are still impatient, Lord Beerus. Whis nodded and jumped to the two to check their injuries. Lord Beerus, you hit too hard. Whis stared at Beerus. He thought it was just a simple sparring, but Beerus hit them so hard. Are you going to die? Beerus' heart skipped a beat. He had just warmed up. How could those two guys be killed by his single blow? Beerus ran to the two and shook their already cold bodies, trying to wake them up forcibly. But this action made the two of them, the body that was about to fall apart, became even more fragmented. Don't move. You will only make them die faster if you do this. Whis isolated Beerus to one side. He quickly summoned the scepter, ready to use his divine power to pull the two down from the brink of death. After all, this kind of thing is relatively simple for him. Two green energies flew out from the top of the scepter and flew into the bodies of the two respectively. This energy quickly traveled through the bodies of the two. and constantly repaired the damaged organs and broken bones. The vitality of the two was also recovering rapidly, and soon there was a faint breath. This can be regarded as saving Sun Wukong and the others. Zhong Suo also came to the side of the two. He squinted his eyes and looked at the two scions in front of him, with an expression that seemed to be thinking. Whis noticed the change in the expression of this adult. He was still very good at observing the eyes of the superiors. Lord Judgment. Are you also very interested in these two guys? Whis said respectfully. I guess so. These two guys are very strange. Zhong Suo said without raising his head, staring at Sun Wukong and Vegeta with his golden eyes. It was as if he could see through their memories and souls in an instant. Strange, what do you think is strange about these two guys? Weiss said in surprise. He didn't understand what the strange this adult was referring to. At the same time, he was looking forward to what the adult would think of the two next. These two scions are very talented. And these two guys seem to have great potential in their bodies. Zhong Suo laughed again. At the same time, he secretly said in his heart. How different can the talent of the male protagonist and the deputy male protagonist who is infinitely close to the male protagonist be? To put it mildly, at least they are at the level of the god of destruction. Even if Zhong Suo did not take the original work as an example. This is also his true evaluation of the two scions. The talents of these two guys are indeed terrifyingly high. He can even clearly feel that there is a strong potential in the bodies of the two. But it has not yet awakened. At this time, a guide is needed. Are you training them according to the standards of the god of destruction? Zhong Suo still said without raising his head. Whis hesitated for a moment, and finally nodded. They are trained according to the training standards of the god of destruction. It is not to train them to be the god of destruction in the future. Just let them reach that level. Whis answered truthfully, and this is indeed his current idea of training Sun Wukong and Vegeta. Because these two guys don't want to be the god of destruction. Zhong Suo didn't continue to speak, but the corners of his mouth rose unconsciously. So his next speech surprised the usually calm Whis. Even Beerus on the side was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He said. Your training method is wrong. Training with the standard of the god of destruction will only slow down the progress of the two of them. It's better to set one yourself. Let them train to the standard of reaching the angel. Zhong Suo said in a calm tone. The training efficiency of these two people is ridiculously slow, it's better to let him draw up a new training list for them. In his previous life on Blue Star, Zhong Suo always heard those people say that there was not much hair dye left for scions. He took this sentence as fart. He wanted to see how many forms these scions had. He also wanted to see what level these two original protagonists could eventually grow to. But he wanted to see whether the so-called Super Time Son Goku and Vegeta could reach the forms of other Dragon Ball fan works. For example, those Super 4, Super 5, Super 6, and so on. After all, the Fengtagu and Zhong Suo's original world was too slow to draw. It would be better to let him travel through time and do experiments on these two protagonists. At that time, this was also an absurd idea. He had never thought that he would really travel through time. But now it's happening for real. So those ideas that have been buried in Zhong Suo's heart for a long time have resurfaced. This is considered an investment, but it's more like using two little white mice for experiments, right? But Zhong Suo doesn't care about these at all. Helping others improve their strength for free, while satisfying their own little fun, and strengthening their own camp by the way, isn't this a win-win for them? Beerus and Whis were speechless for a while. They were all still very shocked, especially Beerus. He didn't think highly of these two people before, thinking that it would be good for these two scions to reach the level of god of destruction. But the judge Zhong Suo wanted to train the two with the blueprint of angel combat power. I'll draw up a list for you later. You two should train them according to the above standards. Don't think too much, just follow the above. I have already laid out the future plan. Zhong Suo smiled again. This can be regarded as the first investment in these two people. As for how much value these two people can have to him in the future, this is still an unknown. Time passed by minute. Zhong Suo still looked at the two people who were still in a coma, and he didn't know what he was thinking. The same was true for Beelzebub and Whis next to him. Both of them showed obvious signs of waking up. There is movement. Zhong Suo glanced at Vegeta lying on the side. And Vegeta's eyelids twitched. Then he suddenly opened his eyes. He sat up quickly, looking around in shock, his forehead was already covered with dense cold sweat. I am resurrected. Vegeta said in disbelief. To ensure the authenticity, he pinched his arm hard again. Hiss! Feeling the severe pain in his arm, Vegeta finally relaxed with a sense of relief tone. During the time of coma, he really felt as if he was dead. In the endless darkness, he could not feel the passage of time. He never wanted to experience that feeling again. The battle is over. A voice came from behind him, and Vegeta turned around suddenly. But found that Beerus, Whis, and another white-haired man were just looking at him. Chapter 6 Whis, that adult's apparent strength is also in the top 3 in the universe. Awake. He is very tenacious. Zhongsu stared at the still unconscious Sun Wukong, and said to Vegeta without turning his head. And Vegeta was confused. Who is this person? Why has he never seen him before? Why did he appear on the planet of the god of destruction? With such doubts, Vegeta asked with a stuttering tone. Ywar. Ugh. Vegeta had just finished saying 2 words when a purple hand covered his mouth. Beerus' face almost turned green with fear, and he quickly made a gesture to Vegeta to keep quiet. I beg you to stop talking. Beerus wanted to cry but had no tears. He was really unlucky today. After so many twists and turns, it made his already fragile heart even more fragile. Didn't you see that I was standing honestly next to this adult just now? If Vegeta said something wrong, he would definitely be the first one to be criticized by the leader. Vegeta nodded hurriedly. He waved his hands repeatedly to signal Beerus to put down his hand. He was almost out of breath. Are you sure? Beerus didn't let go of his hand at all, still looking at him with a wary face. Vegeta nodded frantically again. And the latter finally let go of his palm. He looked at the white-haired young man not far away with a vigilant face, and his heart had already set off a shocking wave. Looking at Beerus's expression just now, it seems that he is very afraid of the guy not far away. Who is this adult? Beerus is so afraid of him. There is nothing else. The key is that people like Beerus, the god of destruction, and Whis, who is unfathomable in strength, can only stand next to that adult. Like a child standing obediently. Vegeta's forehead was covered with cold sweat. The more he thought about this question, the more afraid he became. Turning his head again, he found that Beerus was staring at him. Afraid that he would say something wrong again. Looking at that creepy look, Vegeta's hair stood up instantly. In the end, he suppressed his curiosity to find out the truth. In the end, he chose to stand next to Beerus and waited quietly for Son Goku to wake up. Time flew by. Son Goku's eyelids began to twitch gradually. Then, like Vegeta, he suddenly opened his eyes and sat up almost instantly. Son Goku gasped for breath. He was still in shock. As if he had seen something extremely terrifying not long ago. And in fact, it was just like that. During the period of coma, he seemed to have had a long dream. He dreamed of a guy with golden light all over his body. The guy seemed to be right in front of him, but he couldn't reach anything. The distance between them was as far as the infinite plane. At the last moment, the golden figure took the initiative to walk towards Sun Wukong and merged into his body. Because of this, Sun Wukong was awakened on the spot. Just as Sun Wukong was about to get up, a strange voice sounded behind him. Are you awake? The operation was successful. No, Zhongsu felt a sudden realization. He didn't want to say something like the operation was successful. It was as if someone had pressed the speech button for him in advance. But he didn't care about it. Sun Wukong turned around quickly, but found that the 4 people looked at him as if he was a fool. They just stared at him. It's good to wake up. Go and tell them what happened. Zhongsu gestured to Weiss to explain what happened, and he came to the tree not far away. Weiss nodded and began to tell the 2 of them what had happened before in detail. Beerus on the side was responsible for supplementing. You don't know. Time passed quietly. The 2 who knew the whole story were also stunned. You mean we almost died? Sun Wukong widened his eyes and found it hard to accept. It's really scary. Vegeta's expression on the side was also quite interesting, but he was more grateful. They were almost beaten to death by Beerus. In the end, it was Whis who saved them. If it was before, the 2 of them would definitely think that such a thing would never happen. It was just a simple competition. How could he kill them? Go to Beerus and do it to them for real. However, this incident also taught them a profound lesson. That is, you must remain humble when facing a strong person. This also made them realize that they are just frogs in a well. They are just sitting in a well and looking at the sky. Sorry I hit you on the head by accident. Beerus turned his head to the side and quickly threw away the black pot on his back. Blame it on me at that time. This incident has nothing to do with me who has repented now at this time. Whis came out again to smooth things over. How do you feel now, both of you, before you have digested this news? Why don't you check your body first? The two nodded and began to carefully feel the power. As a result, they were shocked to find that their power had increased again. This heaven-defying characteristic still exists in this world. Zhongsu could hear everything they said. He also instantly remembered a supernatural characteristic of the Scions. The characteristic of the Scions that their fighting power is greatly enhanced after they are revived from the brink of death. Because this Scion exclusive feature is too powerful, the original author also downplayed the restrictions on this feature. However, Zhongsu did not expect that this world still retains this supernatural feature. This is also part of the list. Then we must make good use of it. Looking at the dandelions gradually drifting away, Zhongsu's mouth corners also rose slightly. In a sense, the two of them still have to thank Beerus and Whis. Since this supernatural feature has not been eliminated, it is better to let oneself be the wind wielder and let the dandelions float farther. Anyway, doing so is also beneficial to the camp. However, he cannot go on the field himself. Instead, he needs a specific agent to execute his order. There is no need to think about this simple problem. Zhongsu quickly found the right person. After Whis' clever solution, the two accepted the fact that they were almost killed by Beerus in one move. Losing is losing. There is nothing to say. This can't be blamed on others. It can only be blamed on not having cultivated the family well. Although the current problem has been solved, there is still one thing that has been bothering the two of them. Who is that guy? Why did he appear on Beerus's planet? Sun Wukong expressed his doubts. Vegeta also wanted to know this question. Due to the majesty of the god of destruction, he never said this question. But now someone finally spoke up. The two looked like they were seeking knowledge. You guys. Beerus was about to get angry but was suppressed by Whis, indicating that he should not be nervous. That existence. But he is a very powerful god. Whis made a gesture to silence, and then said in a deep voice. That adult is the judge. He is also one of the supreme rulers of the gods. Even if his apparent strength is among the top 3 in the universe. Whis said with a serious expression, and what he said was all true. At the same time, he added. As powerful as the god of destruction and the angel of God, it is also arranged by that adult's words. After learning the true identity of the man, the two of them were suddenly struck by lightning. Even shocked to the point of difficulty speaking. Chapter 7 Why did you become stronger? He is the judge. Sun Wukong and the others were completely shocked. They had heard about the universe priesthood from Weiss before, including the judge, the high priest, and so on. And now, the one who appeared in front of them was one of the 3 true supreme gods in this universe. And he was the most powerful god among them. Looking at Zhongsu, who was sitting under a tree not far away and reading a book. Even if he didn't look up at him deliberately, Sun Wukong could feel his soul in an instant. So much so that all his past memories were as simple as a blank sheet of paper in front of him. Sun Wukong had cold sweat on his forehead. Even just looking at him made it difficult to stay calm. So what kind of terrifying level did the hard power of this judge have reached? You mean that the Judgment Master's apparent strength can squeeze into the top 3 in the universe? Why do you say apparent strength? What gods are in the universe ranking you are referring to? Vegeta quickly calmed down and also expressed his confusion. He wanted to know what beings were in the universe ranking that Whis mentioned. How terrible are the strengths of those beings? Are you so anxious? Forget it, it's okay to tell you this news. Whis took a sip of milk tea and said in a relaxed tone. The universe ranking I'm referring to. It refers to the supreme gods that have appeared in this world, as well as the ranking of the current supreme gods. This is recognized by all lower gods, and it is the only basic standard for measuring those existences. Let's put it this way. Whis' expression became serious again. As he spoke, he also made a 5 gesture. Even the great priest, who is the first person under the king of all, who I told you about, can only squeeze into the top 5 in this ranking. I can't tell you the 4th place. When it comes to the 4th place, Whis' expression becomes serious again. The real name of that guy is a taboo for them, the gods. But his face soon returned to normal, and he continued. The 3rd place is the one sitting under the tree reading a book. He is also the god with the longest seniority except for the current great priest. He is both a manager and a judge. Why do I say the top 3 in apparent strength? I can't tell you this yet, Mr. Vegeta. At this point, Whis made a to-sign gesture. As for the second place, that was the second high priest, but he left later. When Whis was about to talk about the first place, Sun Wukong, Vegeta and even Beerus sat upright. The 3 of them were afraid of missing any information. Whis showed a mysterious smile again and drank a sip of milk tea slowly. His leisurely look made the 3 people who were eager to listen to the book anxious. It's like taking off your pants to watch the read, but the read is the principle of the cartoon. Why did you stop just when you talked about the climax? Keep talking. Whis ignored the urging of the 3 people and continued to drink milk tea leisurely. Let's talk about it next time. The milk tea has been finished, and there is no need to talk about it anymore. It's too high. They are of no help at all. Spoiler. Beerus said disdainfully, this guy still likes to be a riddler. I didn't expect there are so many masters. Although it is unlikely to surpass them. Let alone reach the realm they can reach. But this is really exciting. Ha ha ha. Sun Wukong laughed. He was not scared by these unreasonable gods who were so powerful, but instead aroused his fighting spirit again. Humph, idiot. One day, Vegeta will surpass you, Kakarot. Vegeta didn't care about surpassing these gods, as long as he could defeat Kakarot. At this time, an abrupt voice broke the laughter of the crowd. The physique is standard. Sun Wukong was also startled by this voice. Turning around, he found that Zongsu, who was originally leaning against the tree to read a book, appeared behind him inadvertently. As if he didn't exist in this world. No one noticed. Are you talking about me? Sun Wukong said with some stammering. His finger pointed at himself with some trembling. At this moment, in front of this true god, he could not maintain his usual carefreeness. You and that guy have strange body structures. Zhongso looked at Vegeta, who was completely confused next to him, and said in a leisurely tone. Is this sir talking about me? Vegeta secretly said in his heart. I'm talking about you. But Zhongso seemed to see through his thoughts and said it without hesitation. Vegeta was struck by lightning, as if he had no privacy in front of this person. It can hear my thoughts directly. Vegeta's pupils shrank suddenly, and he transmitted another voice with some uncertainty. It might have been a coincidence just now. But what Zhongsu said the next second shocked his worldview again. This is also one of my abilities. But it's not very outstanding. Zhongsu smiled, he did have the ability to survey the voice of the heart. This skill is useless to him now. Vegeta was shocked and stood there in a daze. Even the cat next to him was shocked. Whis didn't feel anything, but thought it was reasonable. Are you saying that our body structure is strange? Sun Wukong calmed down and asked Zongsu with a puzzled tone. There is nothing wrong with the body shape. But I see something different in you. Zongsu did not deny it and answered calmly. You and Vegeta are both very talented, and it will be easy for you to achieve the status of God in the future. Do you want to become the new generation of God of Destruction? If a new universe is born one day, I can directly let you take the throne. No need for the approval of other gods at all. Zongsu answered like this. As a high-level god, he does have this right. He does not need the approval of the king of all, he can pull people to the position of God of Destruction. This is also one of the rights given to him by all gods. No, I don't have that idea yet. I don't want to be a god of destruction. Sun Wukong denied it. He didn't want to be the god of destruction, he just wanted to become stronger. I don't want to either. There are some things I can't leave behind. Vegeta also denied it. Becoming the god of destruction also has a price. You two bastards. You don't accept such a good offer. It was Beerus' turn to be anxious. He was about to go up and punch the two of them when he was stunned by a pair of golden eyes. Zongsu just looked at him, his expression was neither sad nor happy. Beerus' face turned green again, and he rolled behind Whis on the spot. I'm fine, I'm leaving. Zongsu was silent for a while. It was reasonable for the two to refuse the position of the god of destruction. He knew that neither of them could become the god of destruction. It was just a little joke. He said again in a flat tone. Then why do you want to become stronger? Chapter 8, Develop new special training for the two. Unleash the Scion's greatest potential. Why do you want to become stronger? The two of them fell into deep thought for a while. They had thought about this question before, but they had no clear decision. Before becoming stronger, was it to protect the earth? To protect their friends? To protect their families? This is indeed the reason why they want to become stronger, just to protect all the beauty they see. But now the two of them want to become stronger. There is a hint of impurity on the road to their goals. Vegeta is still Vegeta after being whitewashed. The purpose of his becoming stronger is to surpass Son Goku, and to protect his loved ones. But what about Son Goku now? His early training was indeed for the earth. But now is it just to become stronger? This is super time and space. Vegeta took a deep breath and said in front of everyone present the purpose of his desire to become stronger. I become stronger just to surpass him. I am not willing to live under the feet of this lower level warrior, I want to prove myself. I am still the former Saiyan Prince. Vegeta is very eager for power, and everything he does is to surpass Son Goku and prove himself. Secondly, he wants to protect everything he has. Vegeta's eyes are burning with sparks. He raised his fist and said to Son Goku word by word. One day, I will defeat you myself. Kakarot. Vegeta. Looking at Vegeta's serious expression. Sun Wukong was silent again, he didn't know how to answer Vegeta. After a long silence. He also told Zongsu his purpose of wanting to become stronger. I want to explore the limit. Sun Wukong also clenched his fists, and his eyes gradually lit up. He lowered his head and looked at his feet. I want to compete with strong people from different worlds, and want to know how strong the potential of Saiyans is. I want to become stronger. Sun Wukong gave his answer with a firm face. After all, the personalities of characters in each time and space will be different. So Zongsu didn't feel strange. He even thought that the purpose and starting point of Sun Wukong in this time and space to become stronger were also good. This at least has a goal. Even the idea is the same as his own. It seems that this is why you want to become stronger. The determination is still quite good. Zongsu applauded with a smile on his face, agreeing with the determination of the two. But then he also expressed his purpose. I came to you to talk so much nonsense for a purpose. Didn't you say you wanted to become stronger? How about making a deal with me? When the word deal was mentioned, everyone present was confused except those who knew about it. Did this gentleman come here and say all these words just to make a deal with them? But they quickly caught the sharp point. A deal to become stronger. The two of them quickly thought of a more dangerous point. Vegeta thought for a long time and answered his attitude respectfully. We want to become stronger with our own strength. Sun Wukong quite agreed with Vegeta's attitude. They just want to become stronger with their own strength. Rather than relying on outsiders' hard pulling. Who said that we can only rely on pulling up the seedlings to help them grow? Do you really think that I will use my own power to forcibly pull you to the level of the god of destruction? Think too much. Zhongsu was stunned on the spot. These two guys really thought wrongly. The deal I'm talking about. I also want to explore the limits of you Saiyans. What do you mean? The two were stunned. I want to make an investment in you. To put it simply, I want to develop a new training content for you. Try to stimulate your huge potential. This can also be regarded as an experiment on you. Zhongsu revealed his true purpose to the two without any hesitation. He didn't care whether the two would refuse. For a moment, the two fell into deep thought. Even Beerus, who was not far away, didn't dare to breathe, and at the same time he was a little envious of this Saiyan. Being favored by this adult. Did these two save the entire universe in their previous life? To put it nicely, it is to stimulate our potential and make our training speed a step further. To put it bluntly, it is to experiment on our bodies. Vegeta still had some resistance. He didn't want to be used as an experiment by a god he had just met not long ago. Although this is a great opportunity. But what if someone makes a mistake and ruins his body? He dared not gamble with his body and future. Not only Vegeta, but even Sun Wukong was thinking about the pros and cons of this. Both of them fell into a long period of hesitation. But Zongsu would not give them much time. You don't have much time left. I don't have much time left either. I have to go to the other 11 universes for inspection later. His figure gradually moved away, and at the same time he said a puzzling sentence. When you have the opportunity to make a choice for yourself, don't let yourself regret it. As he said that, Zongsu cut open the void in front of him with one finger. But just when he was about to walk into the passage, he was stopped by a hurried voice from behind. Please wait, Lord Judge. Sun Wukong secretly said that fortunately, he almost missed this unprecedented opportunity. Because he seized this opportunity, it also proved his future limit. Not only Sun Wukong, Vegeta also made his own choice from the entanglement. I don't want to stop at the realm of the God of Destruction. I believe that in the future, I can also show my own value. Do you agree? Zhongsu stopped and raised his mouth slightly, as if he had guessed that the two would agree. The two looked at each other. This time they made the same choice. I agree. We all want to become stronger. No matter how difficult the training and difficulties are in the future, we will overcome them one by one. Even if it is a so-called experiment on us, we will not have any complaints. So please give us special training. Even Beerus and Whis were shocked by their words, and they also admired their determination and choice. Pa pa pa. This is the right choice. Zhongsu applauded and added. But don't think the so-called experiment is too scary. I said the experiment I told you. It's not to test drugs or equipment on you. It's not to treat you as guinea pigs. But I want to stimulate your scion form to a greater extent. This is what I mean by experiment. In order to completely dispel the two's concerns, Zhongsu continued to say to them. But you can rest assured. Zhongsu spread his arms and said confidently, everything I do will not cause any harm to your body and potential. It will be the most correct choice you have ever made. After saying that, his finger lightly tapped in the void. A blue scroll appeared. Zhongsu handed the blue scroll to Weiss. And then immediately reminded. The two of them will train here in the future. Just follow the content above. The latter took the scroll respectfully. But as soon as he opened it to read, Wei was shocked by the intensity of the special training on it. The special training of the God of Destruction was not as intense as this. Are you trying to kill him? Chapter 9 Becoming a God is not the only way, you can also choose Super Saiyan 4. But before that, please show your current strongest form, so that I can make a more accurate judgment. Zhongsu said with a smile, indicating that Sun Wukong and Vegeta should show their current strongest forms. The two nodded, and a powerful aura burst out from their bodies at the same time. Boom! Two dazzling blue beams shot up into the sky, and the two entered the super blue form at the same time. However, this form also has a longer name. Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. For the sake of convenience, the fans in the previous life also called this form Super Blue. The power is stronger than before. I can also feel that our current form is much stronger than before. Both of them can clearly feel that their current form is stronger than before. This is also attributed to Beerus and their physique. Are you practicing the God system? It seems that it is not very perfect yet. Zhongsu touched his chin and began to carefully analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the two of them, and also said. It can be integrated with the transformation of the Super Saiyan in the God system. This form has great room for future growth. But it depends on your development. Zhongsu easily analyzed the advantages of this form, and also pointed out the disadvantages of this form. Although this form has been greatly enhanced on the basis of the previous God. But the shortcomings are also very obvious. That is, your current physical level can't maintain this form for long. How can a mortal body support the state of God? Saving flow, the skill CD is short, but the blue bar is even shorter. At the same time, Zhongsu pointed out the most fatal point of this form. You have just entered this form and don't have a good grasp of it. I don't know if you feel it. Do you feel weaker and weaker when you enter this form to fight? The two were stunned for a moment. The shortcomings of their form were really pointed out by this adult. In the previous battle with Golden Frieza, they could indeed clearly feel the continuous leakage of the divine aura on their bodies. And their strength and physical strength were gradually decreasing. There are indeed these problems. The two nodded at the same time, and the latter Zhongsu also patiently answered. That's because your current grasp of the divine aura is still not perfect. To put it simply, you are always leaking air. As he said, a bulging balloon appeared in Zhongsu's hand. He untied the air outlet of the balloon the next second. The gas in the balloon quickly leaked. Soon it shrank. The current problem with your form. Even if I didn't say it, you would know it. Then why haven't you thought about how to lock this breath and maximize the power of this form? Zhongsu explained with a smile. He did understand the disadvantages of the super blue form in his previous life. When the two of them first mastered this form, they would only leak air all the time. Which was also the reason for the rapid loss of strength and stamina. The ordinary super blue in the early stage was also called leaking blue. The super blue form during the leaking period could not exert the true power of this form at all. This fatal shortcoming was not solved until the two of them completed the full blue training in the later period. But this kind of thing couldn't be simpler. This is also part of the training content for the two. It's just that it was brought forward in this time and space because of their involvement. Okay, exit this form. You have been leaking air since you entered this form. You have to work harder in the future. Zhongsu waved his hand, signaling them to exit this form. The two of them unlocked the super blue form and immediately felt an unprecedented sense of relief. It seems that we have to develop this form again. I didn't expect the disadvantages of this form to be so big. Sun Wukong laughed. But Vegeta on the side seemed to be full of energy and dissed Sun Wukong again. Listen carefully, Kakarot. Even in the blue form, I will go further than you. The two gods in the wind looked at each other, but they both saw each other's helplessness. They seemed to be redundant. Looking at the two people chatting and laughing, a bold idea appeared in Zhongsu's mind. So he spoke again. Although this form has its shortcomings, but overall it is still very powerful. At this point, Zhongsu's mouth corners hooked up again. Do you want to know a form that consumes less physical strength and has more room for growth? The god system is not the only choice. Do they have a new form to develop? Hearing this adult reveal that there are more powerful form, the two of them suddenly felt their eyes light up. Their bodies trembled unconsciously. I want to. I want to, I want to. The two said in a hurry. They all wanted to know what the new form this adult was referring to. Looking at the two anxious people, Zhongsu decided not to hide the truth. GT System. Super Scion 4, the ultimate form of Scion. Zhongsu liked this form very much in his previous life. When Super Scion 4 first appeared, he was really amazed. This is his favorite form. So he wanted the two people in this time and space to practice the God system while also embarking on the GT system. While revealing this form to the two people, he then went on to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of this form. As I said, the advantage of this form is that it consumes less physical energy, has stronger endurance, and has a higher development space. Although the power that can be exerted is slightly less than the super blue form, it is still very perfect overall. However, Zhongsu immediately added. But this form also has an obvious shortcoming. That is, after entering this form, your mentality will undergo a slight and obvious change. This small problem can be solved after you increase your training volume later. Zhongsu finished talking about the advantages and disadvantages of the two forms in one breath, and pointed out that all these problems can be solved in the future. Both were completely shocked by this adult's knowledge and insights. Is he a scion or are we scions? It seems that this adult knows more about scions than they do. Great! We'll be stronger soon. Sun Wukong said excitedly. The desire for Super Scion 4 in his heart reached a new height again. As if this form was created specifically for them. But Vegeta found the obvious key. Super Scion 4 is that the ultimate version based on Super Scion 3. In other words, to achieve this state, I must break through to the same level as that guy. He thought wrongly for a moment, and said in a tone of disbelief. Vegeta's expression was a little ugly. Super Scion 2 is not a problem. He can also change. But if you say that changing to Super Scion 3 is really difficult for him. After hearing Vegeta's series of remarks, Zhongsu was stunned again. Who said that if you can't change to Super Scion 3, you can't change to Super Scion 4? So he immediately answered. The requirements for that form are not high. It's even very simple for you now. Zhongsu laughed and stretched out two fingers. First, the transformation of Super Scion 4 is based on the transformation of the full moon into a giant ape, and then the transformation of Super Scion based on the giant ape, and then the further transformation of the form. As long as you can transform into a Super Scion and control your emotions and stabilize your state of mind at the same time. Second, don't think this form is too simple, you are still missing an important thing. For a moment, the two were stunned again. What exactly is the important thing in Zhongsu's words? Why is it the most important opportunity for this form? Is it the tail? Vegeta's heart skipped a beat, and he pointed out something he had lost. Right. The tail is the most important opportunity to transform into this form. The front is easy to say, but the back is definitely not missing. Zhongsu said affirmatively. The two people's mood fell to the bottom again. Vegeta's forehead veins popped. Yajirobe, the meat-clad Yasuo. He was the one who cut off his tail. At that time, he still thought that the tail was gone, and it was basically useless except for being able to transform into a giant ape. On the contrary, it would bring certain weaknesses to himself. But he didn't expect that. The boomerang in the past now hit him again. That bastard! Vegeta wanted to return to Earth right now to cut the meat-clad Yasuo into pieces. Finally got a new form. And you told me that this form actually needs a tail. Zhongsu waved his hand again, signaling them to listen to him. I remember there was an example before. It was also from your Scion clan. That guy also reached the Super 4 I mentioned, but he did not rely on his tail. On the contrary, he used a device to break through to this form directly. But this is quite troublesome. Not only do you have to charge the device frequently, but the transformation time is far behind that of the Super 4 with a tail. It's stupid, but that guy has no choice. The guy Zhongsu was referring to was Vegeta from the GT space-time, and he was making indirect accusations again. Is there anyone who can transform into this form without relying on a tail? Vegeta on the side felt that the guy mentioned by the adult made him feel very familiar. But he couldn't tell. But he also felt ridiculous for the stupid behavior of that person. When did a Scion need a device to transform? You don't have to worry too much, this is part of my plan for you. The tail problem is easy to solve. You can choose many ways to grow a tail again. His power can also help you recover. But it can only be left to the last choice. I still hope you can choose to use the Earth Dragon Ball to complete this task. I will give you 2 weeks to prepare and give you a holiday. Then we can start a new training. Chapter 10 Leaving, the King of All wants to summon me. 2 weeks is enough time for you to prepare a lot. Then see you later, everyone. After saying that, Zhongsu opened a crack in the void in front of him and walked in without hesitation. Headed to other universes waiting for inspection. Before leaving, he left a message. Your value to me determines my investment in you. Don't let me down. Zhongsu's figure sank into the void and completely left the 7th universe. Everyone was silent. Silence is the most deadly. This situation lasted until Beerus spoke up and ended. Beerus looked at the two people with expectations, with indescribable complex emotions in his eyes. To be noticed by this adult. You two are really special. After saying that, Beerus rubbed his head with a painful face. He was really unlucky today. You have to work hard in the future. The guys who can be noticed by that adult have now made a name for themselves. Whis said with a smile, and at the same time, a series of figures appeared in his mind. Those guys are all existences that can shake the universe. While lamenting the passing of time, Whis also looked forward to the future of Son Goku and Vegeta. The two scions in front of him. Plus the training of himself and the judge. What realm can they reach in the future? Can they reach the field that he has never reached? Can they create unimaginable miracles? The answers to all these are all in the future. No matter how difficult the training will be in the future. I will also grit my teeth and stick to it. I will never let down the training of the judge. I, Vegeta, will definitely surpass Kakarot first and reach the Super Saiyan 4 that the adult said. Vegeta shouted in his heart. At this moment, his confidence reached an unprecedented peak. He also vowed that he would never let down the training of the judge. He would definitely show these gods a value beyond their imagination. Hey, Kakarot! I must be the first person to make a wish to Shenlong after we go back. I want to be the first to reach the realm of Super Saiyan 4. Vegeta threatened fiercely, and Sun Wukong waved his hands and smiled awkwardly. At the same time, Sun Wukong began to look forward to the new future that was about to come. New training is coming. It's time to go back and prepare well. Sun Wukong looked up at the sky with a faint smile on his lips. Please take us for a ride, Mr. Whis. This is what I've been waiting for. Whis jumped between the two, summoned his own scepter, and then gently pointed it at the ground. The three of them turned into a meteor and flew into the sky, straight to the depths of the universe. In an unknown dimension, a red figure sat on the platform, staring at the 12 universes that kept turning below. This is the exclusive space of the Judge Zongsu, which is specially used to inspect various universes. It is not under the jurisdiction of the Omni King. The dimension level is also above the dimension where the Omni King temple is located. Moreover, Zongsu does not need to obey the direct dispatch and orders of the Omni King. He only needs to take action when necessary. This is the judge. At this time, a white beam of light landed behind Zongsu with a bang. Zongsu raised his mouth without looking back. He had guessed who was coming. I heard that you went to the 7th universe. How do you feel about the changes? The high priest said with a smile, and was secretly surprised. He really didn't expect that the busy man in front of him actually had time to go to the 7th universe. You should know that Zongsu has been diligent since he took office, and has never taken the initiative to participate in the meetings held by the King of All. But the King of All has never blamed him. Changes. It feels like there is basically no change except for the break in the generation of the God of Destruction. It's still the same as before, Zongsu said without looking back. In his impression, the current 7th universe and the 7th universe in the past have indeed not changed much. It's just that the level of the God of Destruction has weakened a lot. Although the gains are small, but I found 2 more interesting scions. Zongsu revealed the news. Oh, 2 more interesting scions, the high priest said with some surprise. Yes, they are the descendants of Yamashi, and the talents of those 2 scions are very high. The achievements they can achieve in the future are enough to make those gods far behind. Zongsu said affirmatively. The high priest was surprised by Zongsu's evaluation again. It was the first time he saw this guy use such a high evaluation. At the same time, he also had a strong curiosity about the 2 scions in his heart. Scions very talented, so talented that the gods can't even catch up. Are the 2 scions really as talented as he said? He couldn't help wanting to do it himself. But he still suppressed the impulse and continued to ask patiently. What did you do later? What did you do later? Did you accept them as your apprentices? When did you start asking such stupid questions? Zhongsu laughed and replied slowly. I made a small investment in those 2 scions. I want to see what value they can bring in the future. Worthless or beyond imagination. You might as well invest in person. But the latter waved his hand and waited for a while to observe the 2 guys he mentioned. So the high priest revealed the real purpose of this trip. I didn't come here to chat. I came to deliver a message for the King of All. It has something important to discuss with you, so it sent me to summon you. I wonder if it's convenient now. The high priest lowered his posture. He didn't come to chat at all, but to deliver a message for the King of All. The King of All summoned me. For an important matter. Zhongsu was silent. This was the 3rd time that the King of All chose to summon him for something since he took office. As long as I don't play those stupid games with him, I'll go. Otherwise, don't even think about it. Zongsu said in a cold tone. After all, when the King of All summoned him for the first time, he asked him to play those stupid games together. But Zongsu turned around and left without giving the King of All face. This incident has always left a deep impression on Zongsu. Wouldn't it be the same thing that summoned him this time? No, no. What are the specific matters? You have to wait for you to see it in person. Anyway, it will never be those things. The high priest continued to explain, but the latter looked at him with suspicion. Okay. I'll leave it to you here. I want to see what the reason is for summoning me. Zongsu stood up and his figure disappeared instantly. Before leaving, he left a few words. But let me make a promise first. If it still lets it play those stupid games, I will personally abolish its throne. This territory does not need a mediocre king. You've reached the end of Part 1. Want to know what happens next? Part 2 and the rest of the story are available on Patreon. Go to Patreon and search for my page to continue listening. Join Patreon and continue the story from Part 2. Thank you for listening and supporting the channel.